So now I'd like to welcome to the stage Shilpa Shah. So Shilpa, would you mind introducing yourself to the audience, please?
Thanks, Hayley, and hello to everyone who are the Ditto TV audience. So my name is Shilpa Shah. I'm a problem solver, innovator, and also a director in the human capital practice at Deloitte. I help our clients to drive transformation and work at the intersection of people and technology. I also lead our UK Women in Technology network, and I've recently taken on the role of chair for our consulting inclusion think tank. I also am a member of the Institute of Coding's Industry Advisory Board, which is focused on improving digital education and widening participation of digital learners into digital careers. And most importantly, I'm a mum of 2 teenage girls, and I'm very passionate and excited about improving diversity in technology, as I genuinely believe that it's one of the most exciting fields in the world to work in, and it needs much more diversity and many more women to help develop the products, services, and solutions we'll need in the future.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Shilpa. So could you tell us a bit about how you started out? I know you kind of started out as a software developer, but just tell me the story behind this passion and how you moved up the ranks at Deloitte.
Sure. I think I was always a tech curious child. I used to take my speak and spell apart, for those who remember the speak and spell, when I was about 7. And I've always been a problem solver. So I studied computer systems engineering at Manchester University, where I did my master's. I was the only girl on my course, and also the only female who joined the world of work back in 1997 into the advanced technology practice. My degree did have software engineering and hardware engineering. So I started off life as a software developer. But as I said in my intro, I've always been passionate about problem solving. And I think that's one of the things that attracted me to work in management consulting in the first place. And after a couple of years in software development, I realized that data was actually the key to being able to better understand and solve problems. And I absolutely just fell in love with the world of data, and would have told you 20 years ago that data is going to one day run the world. So even back then in the late 90s, I used to work on projects to develop, I guess, what would now be called AI and algorithms to help clients better understand this vast amount of information that they were getting to help them improve their businesses. So, gosh, I remember one of the first things I did was build a predictive churn model for bad debtors for a telecommunications company, building various data-driven marketing campaigns and insight for a bank to better understanding the financial data for the Olympic Games. And even today, everything I do tends to have a bit of a data-driven angle because I just love data. I've also been very passionate about helping people and sharing my experiences. And I took on the role of leading and growing our award-winning Women in Tech network. And I'm very proud and very privileged to be able to lead that. And so whilst I progressed through the years, I've always remained authentic to what I believe are my core values, which are around lifelong learning, adapting, and helping others. And I think those 3 things have really helped me to progress and develop my career.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Shilpa. So could you tell me a bit about as you discussed earlier, the role on the Industry Advisory Board?
Sure. So the Institute of Coding, of which I'm an Industry Advisory Board member, is a really great consortium of higher education, industry and outreach organizations working collectively together to improve the diversity and education of digital learners, be they in formal education or already in the workforce and everything in between. So my role on the Industry Advisory Board was to really work alongside other leaders from industry organizations to provide guidance and directions across all of the Institute's aims. So this involved a range of different responsibilities, from providing recommendations and guidance on approaches being taken in higher education institutes on changing actual course content and making it much more industry relevant, guiding on broadening diversity, feedback on various marketing campaigns and representing the view of industry, and speaking at their annual IOC conference. And one of the key pieces of work that I was actually involved in with the Institute of Coding was leading on a piece of research around the motivating factors that would encourage more women to want to come and study and work in digital.
Brilliant. And from that, I know you did a lot of research, Shilpa. So could you tell us a lot about that, behind the bits behind that research and what went into that, and kind of the results you found from that?
Sure. So for the research, we asked for participants across 3 different groups to share their feedback on a number of questions that we co-designed with the Institute of Coding to really help better understand motivating factors for studying and working in digital. So I'm sure everybody's aware there's so much research out there on the barriers. So we really wanted to do something different and focus on motivations instead. So I think we had 1,410 people participating in the survey across the 3 different age groups of 16 to 18-year-olds, those who were already in higher education and those who were already working. And the research was really interesting. I'm just going to share 3 of the key findings from the report, which you can also find on the internet. So 3 key findings were that we definitely need much more smarter signposting to encourage more women to see digital as a route that they want to progress, both in education and in work. So this includes the routes that you can take to work in digital and really challenging the misconception that if you don't have a STEM background, you can't work in digital. The second key finding was around rebranding digital. So we know, for example, that 2/3 of children in schools today are going to work in jobs that still haven't been designed or invented yet. And there's still a misconception about what working in technology actually means. There are so many roles available, and focusing on what the roles achieve and what they are there for, rather than the mechanism of how you get there, would definitely attract more women. I think one of the stats was that 63% of women university students said they'd consider pursuing a career if the role involved making a difference in the world and contributing to future technology. So would you be more attracted to a role advertised as develop algorithms to explore data, or help achieve net zero by exploring a range of problems and data? So highlighting the why is really key to attracting more women to want to work in digital. And I think there was one more final theme that came through was around flexible learning, and that being really critical to encouraging more women to want to work in digital. So I think we can all agree that the global pandemic has shown that it is possible to adapt and move much more quickly than we ever thought possible. And this is definitely true for learning models as well. So using blended learning models, online learning, alongside the concept that we really are talking about lifelong learning. There are no such things as skills for life or jobs for life anymore. Everything adapts. Really tailoring that learning to be much more flexible was something that would attract more women to work in digital. I think we've seen a massive increase in online learning throughout the pandemic, and I think that's going to continue. And it's all been enabled by technology.
Absolutely. Well, a huge congratulations on that piece, Shilpa. I think that's really interesting. And what we will do is we will link our audience back to have a look at that report, because I think that was a really groundbreaking report for me, and quite shocking to see that so many people think that you need X, Y, and Z qualifications in order to get to be involved in tech. So that was really hugely interesting. So another congratulations as well, Shilpa, as I've heard you've recently published a chapter in the book that's being launched end of July for the British Computer Society, Women in IT, with your chapter focusing on attracting and retaining women in technology. So could you tell us a bit about that, and maybe some of the research you did on bringing that book to life?
Absolutely, and thank you. So yes, the book's going to be published at the end of July. So I do hope the Ditto TV audience will support BCS and buy the book. And what it is a real practical guide for businesses as to how to improve diversity in their organizations and attract and retain many more women working in technology related roles. So there are case studies sharing experiences from both academia and industry. And our collective hope is really that this book will help everyone be a part of the journey to increase diversity in technology. So whether diversity, equality, and inclusion are already part of the journey of an organization, or it's just something that organizations are starting to think about, the book really does aim to offer everybody insight into what can make a real difference to the diversity of the tech sector and their own businesses. So it doesn't just cover stats and facts, it's got great case studies and really does focus on the whole package. So really assessing your organization's readiness for change and the key part that inclusion and belonging play in attracting and retaining more women into tech roles, as well as the different teams across businesses that you need to work with to drive change, are really explored in the book and the chapter specifically. Now, I've been on this journey for many years myself. So when I was writing the chapter, I had to put myself into sort of a different mindset and think about what I would have wanted to know or what others may want to know now, and then take it from there. So there's lots of practical tips, processes to follow, things that you need to think about, metrics and KPIs. And, you know, it was really interesting to research where we are at, find different case studies and think about what more we need to do to drive change. So please do go out and buy the book, and hopefully it will equip you with all you need to know.
Fantastic. Now, Shilpa, going back to, you know, what we spoke about earlier, which is kind of, again, attracting and retaining women in tech. Do you personally feel like now enough is being done? I know we had you at a Campfire probably about a year or so ago, but do you think still enough is getting done to get women actually involved in technology and excited in technology in the industry? And if you don't think enough's being done, what would you recommend for other firms to start looking at potentially?
Sure. And I think there have been lots of efforts to get more women into tech, into the industry, even as far back as the last sort of 15, 20 years, and maybe even further back than that. And it definitely feels like now many more people are on the journey. I do think it's more that incremental change is continuing. We have many, many more role models, much more exposure through technology itself about technology. And the narrative is really starting to shift around the kinds of jobs that you can do when you work in tech. And all of that, I think, has helped to try and attract more women. And there, of course, are so many organizations like the Institute of Coding, like Future.now, like STEMETS, and charters like the Tech Talent Charter, and many, many others that are really helping to drive the cause for getting more women into tech. And I think the pandemic has really highlighted that it is possible to increase the proportion of women working in STEM-related fields. So I think there was some recent research from the BCS that the proportion of women in tech has increased to 20% in 2020, up from between 14 and 17%. I really do believe that the inclusive hybrid work models that have come as a result of the pandemic and accelerated and been brought forward will really mean that we're able to attract many more women into tech. But on the flip side, I think progress does need to be faster and does need to continue. And we need much more broader representation across the different aspects of both visible and non-visible diversity. So we still have a way to go in terms of intersectionality, including ethnicity and sexuality, neurodiversity, disability, age. I genuinely think that everyone should have the opportunity to be and be supported to work in what I genuinely think is the most exciting industry in the world. And I think progress is going to require ongoing relentless focus and commitment from across government, early education onwards, and industry, all working together to make changes. We can all drive incremental changes as individuals or organizations, but just imagine how much more powerful we could be if we work together. And I don't think we should stop until we get to parity.
Couldn't agree with you more, Shilpa. Thank you so much for joining us. We will have a panel discussion in a little while, just coming up. But if you want to find out more about Deloitte and Shilpa herself and what they're doing, Shilpa, how's best to contact yourself?
Oh, fantastic. Thanks, Hayley. So please do look at the Deloitte website, www.deloitte.co.uk. You'll find out about some of the fantastic things that we're involved in as an organization. You can contact me on LinkedIn, and I'm also a bit of a tweeter. So please do reach out. I'd love to connect.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.